morning. Um, I am recording this on Monday the 15th. Denmark just got a new king, and I got, at least in my part of Denmark, another light dusting of snow. So, this weekend, not only did we get a new king, but we also sold out the tickets for the Danish Nationals this weekend. So, already we've got all 40 spots sold out, and we've got 2 people on a waiting list. If you want to go and join the Danish Nationals, please contact me. I'll get you on a waiting list, and the EOs may have to decide whether or not we want to expand the tickets. We can't do that yet. It's a question of available space, basically. So if there is a lot of extra people, we will try and secure extra space, but we shall have to see. Also, I got myself a new mic, so I'm hoping the sound goes through all right. This is the first time I'm using it, so we will see what happens and how good it actually works. So that's also happening. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to review one list for the Danish Nationals, and I'm going to talk about 2 lists that a viewer sent to me who's just starting out in optimizing, competitivizing, or whatever that is called, his lists. So let's go and check out these lists. The first one, that will be the Danish national list, and it is from Lucas, our resident Pole. Right. So Lucas sent me this list. He has shifted. He is moving into Americans here, and has built a 16 orderized list. It's 1204 points, and that's because in Easy Army, he's built this on Easy Army, but in Easy Army you can't take a mule team, even though the fact says you can for all armies. So he's taken a mule team, but clicked it as something else. So the 4 points, that's that. I think he's clicked it as a horse-drawn limber, because they're very, very similar, aren't they? It's just the points. So 16 order dice. I like 16 order dice for 1200 points. It's where just around where I think you should be. 16, maybe 17. So yeah, that's good. Second lieutenant with 2 extra men, inexperienced. That means that he survives preparatory bombardment. Basically, it means that he's not in any sort of threat from that. Yeah, he might lose a man, but the unit can't go away from it. Veteran engineers. Wow, these guys are expensive, but so good. It's a large unit as well, right? It's got 7 men in his unit. And this next one also with 7 men. He had a few points left over for submachine gun in 1 unit. Okay, yeah. These are going to be good. They are going to be really good, because most of the time what happens when you do a flamer rush, when you drive up your car, you unload your engineer, your flamer team, the next thing that happens is they die. The enemy will shoot at you as a retaliation for having the audacity to kill one of his units. But these veteran, like 7-man units, they typically don't die to a single round of shooting, so they will be very survivable after they've delivered their flamethrower and their extra shots from BARs and submachine guns. And because they are survivable, the BARs might actually get to do something next turn, right? So I like this setup. Veteran infantry. I don't think this is needed. American skirmishers can just go regulars, but you know, it's if you have the points, it's really nice to have some survivability in your infantry. So 2 skirmish units here, I like this, and a veteran paratrooper unit with stubborn. These are really good push units. They can't go into close combat, but they can stand up to enemy flamethrowers, which is what you want them to be able to do. So they'll sit there and move up into the center table, take objectives, shoot. Yeah. Medium mortar inexperienced sniper team. It's always good to have a load of different small teams. It gives you a lot of capability, right? Sniper team is great. Doesn't need to be veteran, no, but Lucas has the points, right? So again, making it more survivable. The medium mortar, it's a little bit of a tricky play unit. You need to be able to need to know what you're doing, and you need to be able to place it in the right position so that the enemy sniper don't just kill you in one go. Bazooka team, quite often that will need a jeep. Doesn't have to have one, but it helps a little bit, and it's really dangerous for enemy tanks. Medium artillery piece, medium howitzer with a spotter and gun shield, very survivable as well. And with that 3-inch template, it is deadly. There's the horse-drawn limber. That's the mule instead. Armored car, that's a recce jeep. I think that's the best you can do with Americans. I don't think Americans have the best armored car slot. Go and watch my video on competitive Americans. Or my interview with Danny. Danny, he's been running Americans very successfully, and typically he won't run armored cars because it's the only the recce jeep is basically the only one that's worth its points, and it's not that good. It's just a single MMG, right? And then an M4 Sherman with a 105mm howitzer. I love this. This is sort of inching into Death Star territory because it's a 9+, but at the same time, it is pretty effective, and it's not that expensive. So it's one of the medium tanks that I think is actually worth taking to competitions. That and the Kugelblitz and the Lee, I think there are some of the tanks that you could consider taking to competition, to tournament play. So I really like this tank. Yes, it is easily catches fire, and the gyro stabilizer is not being used because it's regular. He wants to save the points, but it can sit in your own back line, or it can push up if the enemy hasn't got any tools to deal with it. So yeah, I do think that many people tend to overly aggressively play this, like pushing it up against armies where it shouldn't. But you can easily sit in your own back line. This will be the second medium howitzer, so the third HE shot. I think it's good. Dodge trucks, pintle mounted MMG, regular, and a regular Jeep. Doesn't need to be regular. You could save a few points here. But it does mean you're more likely to come in from the outflank if you want to do that with your bazooka team straight into the side of that steward that you want to kill. Perfect. So this is Lucas's list for the Danish Nationals. This list has already been approved, so it's good to go. Yeah, that'll be great. Now, the second and third list I want to show is from Nathan. Nathan is from Belgium, and he started out with he wanted to build a library of historical minis for his sons to goof around with. And he quickly figured out, he writes, that people have a tendency to optimize their lists in order to win. Yes, they do. Even historical players do this and then dislike themselves for it sometimes, I think. No one that I know plays the Goliath, right? It is historical, but people won't typically play it because it's bad, right? So there are some units that even historical players will shy away from. So we do have a tendency, in a higher or lesser degree, to play things that work in the game. So, and then we can disagree about what works and what not works. I mean, that's perfectly fine. So so he asks me what I would see in the list that he's built for a competitive scenario. What would I change? So these are the lists. 16 order dice for 1,000 points. I think 16 is actually too high. You don't need to go this high. But with Soviets, you can get a lot of access to small units that could boost your order dice count. Order dice count is one of the things I look at, Nathan, when I look at whether or not a list is competitive or not. Does it have sufficient order dice to be effective, to not be out order diced in the bag where if you put 16 order dice against 8, the 16 order dice will come up twice as often, right? So you'll get the order dice that you need when you need them. So that's one of the things. But if you have too many order dice, your units become so weak that they become ineffective. So there's a little bit of a balance there to be struck. 16 order dice, I think, is good, especially for Soviets, depending on what they have. So a junior lieutenant, inexperienced, that is what most of us runs, paying attacks. Assault engineers, yes, these are really good. Body armor, they're going to survive everything the enemy throws at them. Veteran squad with rifles, you've got 8 men. They don't actually need to be 8 men, but since you have them with tough fighter, that means that you want to be able to go into close combat. I think 8 or 7 would be a good number. The free rifle squad, or would take one of those. Dog mines. Remember that with dog mines, if you take 1, you can take 3. The Soviets have multiple slots for anti-tank, which, if you have the points, if you can find the points somewhere, is very much worth it, because the dog mines are the best anti-tank weapon in the game, hands down. You need to be able to use them right, but they are very, very good. A T-28 tank, that's got all the turrets. I really like the T-28 as an alternative to a Stuart. It's got the light howitzer, which the Stuart lacks. It's got a lot of MGs that can split fire every which way, but it is a little bit more expensive. So in that respect, I really like it as a good alternative. It's not vulnerable, so yeah, love it. And trucks. 1 truck and 1 Bren carrier here. What would go in? I mean, the assault engineers would go in the Bren carrier, obviously. Do you need the truck though? It's got 12-man capacity, so your whole free unit could go into that truck. I think the truck is not necessary, because the free rifle squad, they can go on foot, as can the veterans, they can go on foot. I don't think you need this. And it becomes extra expensive because you put an MG on it, buying it regular. No. This I would cut out of the list. Unless, of course, you want to play with it and you have the model, because, I mean, sometimes you just want to play with your collection, right? Second platoon. And I think if you're running double platoons, I think you always should, if you want to go competitive, because you have 2 selections of everything that's good. So that's, yeah. Junior lieutenant again. Strafbats, these are just there to be order dice, to be clear. They're very, very cheap and just there to be extra order dice. Flamethrower team. This needs something to transport it, a jeep. The M30 is finicky to use, but we see it in a lot of competitive lists. Later today I'm recording videos for the WTC. Lot of M30s in those lists. So yeah, it is very competitive. And having just 1 of these will mean that the enemy spreads out their units, right? A BA-64B with a turret-mounted light LMG. This is not needed. You have quite a lot of firepower already in your list. You don't need that 1 LMG. Again, this might be something where it's just in your collection, in Nathan's collection. I think buying 2 dog teams would be way more beneficial, and would give you an extra order dice. Another T-28, lovely, love it. And a truck. Exchange this truck for a jeep, and that will give you a lot of points again. So you could actually boost your order dice quite a lot. The extra points I think I would spend on maybe buying extra bodies for the Strafbats, and extra dog mines. That would be my pick for what to do. Yeah, I like the Soviet list. It is good. It's competitive. There are still things that can be tweaked. As you can see, there are still things where this might not benefit you. I mean, the truck is just, it has 12-man capacity. What it really needs to transport is 2 men in a flamethrower team and maybe a lieutenant as well. So Jeep would be cheaper. But as a first attempt at a Soviet competitive list, it's very good. Then he sent us his German list, which is 15 organized and 1,000 points. Waffen-SS Lieutenant, that's what all the cool guys who are running competitive lists are doing, which means that you take a Waffen-SS squad with Panzerfausts. They don't need to be fanatic because that will massively boost their cost. 140 points for 7 men is way too much. Way too much. I can get 8 Gurkhas for 119 points, something like that. And they are way more dangerous than this. I don't think this is worth it. And if you're going to run Panzerfausts, make sure you have 2 riflemen. Or no, better yet, have 3 riflemen. So 2 of the rifles can have Panzerfaust and 1 rifle can be an extra dude that is taken off once you take casualties. I think this needs to go down in cost. It's way more expensive than it actually has effect on the table. This is not the same as a darker tank. It's not the same level of threatening. Feldgendarmerie. Okay. Feldgendarms are really beneficial if you have the... Can't remember. It's not the Strafbat. It's another unit. Let's go in and see the chain dogs. Where is it? There. Any Strafbat. Yes, it is Strafbat. Or replacement squad. So it can make them lose the Shirker rules. Okay, cool. And then, of course, it takes a few Strafbat units, which are Shirkers. Is it worth it? I think you need more men in your Strafbats. But you should run them regular. Because the chain dogs will mean that you lose Shirkers and then you can move and shoot. Without having to worry about the Shirkers because they're going to do what the Feldgendarmer says. But that means that your unit size should be, I think this is good, they should be 6 to 7 men. So this is a little bit too small. Flak-Zwilling. Ooh, that is nasty. I love the Flak-Zwilling. It needs to sit in somewhere where you can see a line that cuts across the table, and you can shot down that line. With a 3+ penetration, that is going to be massively beneficial against the T-28s that you have in the other list. Love it. Horse-drawn limber, you don't actually need it, but it's a nice extra order dice to have. 250/9, always good, very competitive. And a Kugelblitz. Wow. Okay, if you have a Kugelblitz in your collection, brilliant. Run one of those. If you don't, take a Panzer III instead and give it machine guns. The Kugelblitz is again a little bit of a specialist unit. It needs to have the right player in order to be very effective, but it is dangerous. It's very dangerous. 2 heavy autocannons. 2nd platoon, another Waffen-SS lieutenant, another Feldgendarmer squad, another Strafbats, 2 Strafbats. I think you could easily give Panzerfaust to these Strafbats. If you cut out the Kugelblitz, you'll get a few points left over because a Panzer III is like 130 something, 40 points. So you will have points left over, which means that your Strafbats can be larger, which means they can be more dangerous, more rifles into them. And Shirkers is ignored with the Feldgendarmer. Another Flak-Zwilling. Is that needed? I think a Howling Cow or Nebelwerfer would be more beneficial here. And maybe a mortar somewhere. And another SDK of set 250/9. Right. that I think was it for us today. I hope the sound is good with the new mic, and thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Cheers.